I remember the first time it happened, the subtle shift in the way people looked at me, the tilt of their heads, the softening of their voices, and the unexpected warmth in their smiles. I had never realized how much attention could feel like a bomb. It began with a simple decision, to wear a blouse and skirt I had borrowed from my sister, curious almost hesitantly about how it would feel. The fabric brushed against my skin, soft and foreign, and my reflection in the mirror seemed to ask a question I wasn't ready to answer. Who are you really? My hands shook as I smoothed the folds of the skirt, and I caught myself imagining walking down the street being seen in this way. It was exhilarating and terrifying. For a fleeting moment I worried about judgment, about ridicule, about being exposed. But beneath the anxiety a quiet thrill pulsed. A spark of recognition that this version of me, soft, poised, delicate, had always been there waiting for a chance to exist. And then it hit me like a quiet revelation. The attention, the subtle differences in treatment felt good. Unexpectedly good. The world felt different, not threatening but alive with possibilities I had never allowed myself to imagine. The following day I couldn't stop thinking about it. I experimented quietly in my room, trying different outfits, each one teaching me something new about the way I moved, the way my gestures could shift subtly, almost imperceptibly. A tilt of the head, a soft curve of the hand, the gentle sway of a skirt. These small changes made me feel both nervous and alive, as though I were learning a language I had always known but never spoken. I caught my reflection in the mirror more than once, noticing how my expression softened, how my posture shifted. Each time I felt a mix of fear and exhilaration, questioning why this side of me had been so hidden for so long. And yet, beneath the anxiety, a quiet joy emerged. The reflection wasn't a stranger anymore. It was me, tentative but alive, discovering a part of myself I had been denying. Then I imagined stepping outside, walking through the world like this. How would people react? Would they notice? Would it matter? And somehow the answer didn't scare me as much as I thought it would. For the first time I realized that being seen differently wasn't just tolerable. It was freeing. That evening I sat by the window, watching the city lights blur into streaks through the rain. My journal lay open on my lap, filled with sketches, notes, and the jumble of thoughts I hadn't dared speak aloud. Each line captured a fragment of the thrill I felt. The soft brush of fabric against my skin, the gentle sway of my movements, the tiny details of a self that had long remained hidden. I traced the words with trembling fingers, imagining what it would feel like to reveal even a part of this secret life to someone I trusted. I thought of him, my closest friend, the one who had always been patient, who had seen me through awkward, uncomfortable, and even embarrassing moments without judgment. Could he understand this side of me? Could he accept the subtle, fragile self I was discovering? The thought made my chest tighten, but beneath the fear, a spark of courage flickered. Perhaps the person who had always seen me might also see all of me and still care. I let my reflection linger in the window pane, merging with the rain, and whispered softly, "This is real. I am real." And for the first time the words felt like a promise I could keep. The weekend arrived, and with it, a quiet courage I hadn't felt before. The apartment was empty, my sister out for the day, leaving me with a perfect opportunity to explore without hesitation. I laid out a soft blouse and a skirt I had been hesitant to touch before. My hands trembled as I dressed, adjusting hems, smoothing fabric, and running my fingers through my hair until each curl fell just so. Standing in front of the mirror, I studied every detail, every line, every shadow. The person staring back at me was both familiar and new, me, yet a version I had only glimpsed in dreams. I practiced walking across the room, letting my movements flow naturally. Each tilt of my head, every sway of my shoulders, every subtle gesture felt electric, like I was speaking a silent language only I could understand. My reflection smiled back at me, a quiet affirmation that this wasn't a fleeting whim. This was me, fragile yet confident, nervous yet alive. And then I thought of him. Could he see this side of me and still care? My chest tightened with fear, but underneath it, a spark of hope glimmered. Perhaps he could, perhaps he would. Over the next few days I began to experiment more boldly. Small touches at first. A scarf, a bracelet, the tilt of my head, the curve of my smile. But each one felt like unlocking a secret I had kept hidden for far too long. Every gesture, every sway, every tiny movement became a rehearsal, a way of speaking a truth I hadn't yet dared to share with the world. My journal filled rapidly with sketches and notes, capturing the subtle transformations and the swirl of emotions they brought. fear, excitement, longing, and a thrill I hadn't anticipated. One afternoon, I dressed completely in a full outfit I had once only imagined. A flowing blouse, a skirt that moved with a quiet elegance, and shoes that made me feel poised yet unfamiliar. Standing in front of the mirror, I let my body move naturally, letting gestures flow as if they had always belonged to me. My reflection wasn't a stranger anymore. He was me, tentative, nervous, bold, alive. And once again I thought of him. Could he see this version of me and still care? The question lingered, terrifying and thrilling at the same time. But beneath it, a quiet courage flickered, daring me to hope. Perhaps the person who had always loved me could see all of me now, and still love me. That evening, the apartment felt like a private stage, the perfect space for me to explore more fully. I laid out my chosen outfit carefully. A soft blouse, a skirt that swayed gently with every movement, and shoes that made me feel both delicate and grounded. My hands shook slightly as I dressed, smoothing the fabric, adjusting hems, running my fingers through my hair until each curl fell perfectly. Standing in front of the mirror, I studied every detail. The tilt of my head, the curve of my shoulders, the shape of my hands. For the first time I saw her fully, the version of me I had been longing to embrace. I practiced walking across the room, letting gestures flow naturally, tilts of the head and subtle hand movements becoming second nature. Each motion felt electric, alive, and undeniably true. My reflection seemed to smile back at me, a quiet affirmation that this wasn't a game or a fleeting whim. It was me, discovering the self I had long denied. And then I thought of him. Imagining him seeing me like this made my chest tighten with both fear and excitement. But beneath it, a spark of hope glimmered. Perhaps he could see all of me and still love me. That night, I sat by the window, rain tapping softly against the glass. The city lights blurred into streaks of gold and red. My journal rested on my lap, pages filled with sketches, notes, and the jumble of emotions I had kept locked away. Fear, exhilaration, longing, and a quiet, trembling joy. The reflection in the glass merged with the raindrops, and for the first time, I felt a clarity I hadn't known before. This wasn't just experimentation anymore. This was becoming my truth, a version of me I could no longer ignore. Then my phone buzzed. A simple message from him. "Hey, want to hang out tonight?" My chest tightened. The thought of revealing even a fraction of this side of me made my heart race. Could he understand? Could he accept this part of me? Trembling, I typed back a hesitant yes, letting the ember of hope glow brighter. Before leaving, I caught my reflection one last time. The person staring back at me was no longer tentative. She was alive, poised, and ready. I drew a deep breath and stepped into the night, knowing the hours ahead could change everything, but feeling for the first time that I was ready. When I arrived at his apartment, my heart was pounding, every step toward the door heavy with anticipation. I rang the bell, and when he opened it, his familiar smile hit me like a wave. I froze for a moment, caught between fear and relief. Could he really see me like this and still care? Could someone who had known me so long understand the side of me I had been nurturing in secret? We settled into the living room, talking about ordinary things at first. Music, movies, small stories. But beneath the casual chatter, a quiet current thrummed between us. My hands fidgeted nervously, and he noticed. "You okay?" he asked softly, eyes full of concern. My chest tightened. Could I finally reveal everything I had been hiding? Could I show him the self I had been practicing in front of mirrors and journals? I took a shaky breath and began to speak. I told him about the nights spent rehearsing gestures, experimenting with outfits, and learning to move in ways that felt true. I confessed the thrill, the fear, and the longing to be recognized for who I really was. I braced for judgment, but instead he reached for my hand, steady and warm, and said, "I love you, all of you, no matter what." Tears filled my eyes. The weight of years of secrecy and doubt lifted in an instant. The person who had always loved me, truly loved me, still did, fully and completely. The evening unfolded with a quiet magic I hadn't expected. We talked for hours. About my journey, the small discoveries, the nervous exhilaration of trying on different outfits, the way I had learned to move and speak in a softer, more deliberate way. He listened without interruption, without judgment, holding my hand and offering a steady, reassuring presence. Each word I had feared would push him away instead drew us closer, building a fragile, beautiful trust between us. At one point he said softly, "You've always been brave even when you didn't know it." The words hit me like a current, filling the spaces in my chest that had long been heavy with fear and doubt. All the secret rehearsals, the trembling hands, the whispered affirmations, they had led me here to a place of acceptance, connection, and quiet triumph. My chest swelled with joy, relief, and a strange, almost dizzying pride. Later, as we watched the rain blur the city lights outside the window, the reflection in the glass no longer felt like a stranger. It was me, fully alive, fully embraced, and fully seen. I whispered softly to myself, "I am me," and for the first time the words felt undeniable, unshakable, and true. The days that followed felt like stepping into a life I had only dared imagine. I began weaving small touches of this true self into everyday moments. Subtle accessories, softer gestures, gentle expressions, and each choice felt like a quiet declaration. I exist fully and unapologetically. My reflection in the mirror no longer intimidated me. It mirrored the growing confidence and authenticity I carried inside. We spent afternoons together, laughing, sharing stories, sometimes just sitting in comfortable silence. He noticed the smallest details. The tilt of my head, the curve of my smile, the way my fingers moved, and each acknowledgement filled me with a joy I had never known. Fear and doubt still whispered occasionally, but they were faint echoes now, overpowered by the steady reassurance of his love. One rainy evening, as droplets traced the window pane, he reached for my hand. "No matter what changes, I'll always be here," he said. In that quiet, tender moment, I understood fully. This journey wasn't just about discovering myself. It was about finding someone willing to love me through it all, and realizing I could finally love myself in return. The following weeks became a gentle rhythm of discovery and courage. I moved through each day with a quiet confidence, testing small expressions of myself in public, subtle accessories, softer gestures, the tilt of a smile, and each time I felt nervous yet exhilarated. Every glance in a shop window, every reflection on the subway, reminded me that I was no longer hiding. The reflection in the mirror no longer felt like a stranger. She was me, alive, evolving, and embraced. We shared ordinary moments that felt extraordinary. Walks in the park, quiet evenings listening to music, small adventures where I could be fully myself without fear. Each experience deepened my understanding that being seen, truly seen, wasn't a threat. It was freedom. My heart, once heavy with fear and shame, now carried warmth, hope, and pride. I realized that the journey I had once dreaded had become the path to the person I was always meant to be. And in every glance, every gesture, every soft word between us, I felt an unshakable truth. I could be myself and still be loved completely. The moment of full acceptance came quietly, without fanfare, in the simplicity of an ordinary evening. I stood before the mirror in a complete outfit I had once only dreamed of wearing. Soft fabrics, flowing lines, every gesture I had practiced until it felt natural. I studied my reflection, not just the surface but the journey that had led me here. The nights of secret practice, the trembling hands, the whispered affirmations, the hidden longing. He was beside me, hand steady in mine. The mirror no longer reflected a stranger. It reflected the whole, unguarded me, embraced and unafraid. I whispered softly, "This is who I am," and he smiled, squeezing my hand. "And I love every part of you," he said, and my chest swelled with a joy so profound it brought tears to my eyes. In that instant I understood fully. This journey had never been about hiding or pretending. It had been about uncovering, embracing, and sharing the person I truly was, and finding someone willing to love me through it all. For the first time I felt whole, fully seen, and fully loved. The reflection in the mirror, the warmth of his hand, the quiet certainty in my heart, all of it reminded me of one simple truth. I am me, and that is enough.